What it do, Dream Team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with the greatest driver right now in F1 in this time period, Max Verstappen. 10 F1 wins in a row. In the history of F1, never been done before. Do we know the next time it'll be done? I don't. And how much can he win in a row is now a question I'm sure everybody's asking. When will he lose? Will he lose any time the rest of the season? I don't know. Like he might set a record that's might not be beaten for ages. And let's not also forget that Red Bull has won every single race this season. Before we jump in, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Oh my God!
Max Verstappen just made Formula One history. 10 consecutive race wins. Just like when Lewis Hamilton took his 100th career win in Sochi in 2021, it's a level of dominance that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. And I don't know which is more impressive, to be honest. I'll leave that to the YouTube comments to decide.
Oh, which one's more? I'm sorry, Lewis. I don't know. Because one, it shows the dominance over a long period of time. Like 100 wins is absolute insanity. But 10 wins in a row also, like, it's never been done. It has never been done. And I don't know if anybody has won 100 races before. So that may never been done as well. And I'm not sure about that, but both just absolutely phenomenal records. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. I'm just going to say they're both absolutely incredible.
It's easy to get bogged down by this kind of dominance when there isn't a good championship battle or fights for the lead, race in and race out. But what we're seeing with the Red Bull in the hands of Max Verstappen is unprecedented. And like I said in my video last week going over the Mercedes W11, you have to respect what you're seeing. Let's go back to when this began in Miami. This is during the time in the season when people thought that Sergio Perez was going to take a fight to Max for the title, which didn't last very long as Max would qualify for Miami in 9th, and then go on to pass Sergio, who started on pole, and win. After Miami, we were supposed to go to Imola, but it was canceled due to flooding, and so we went ahead to Monaco, where Max would qualify on pole position and win by 27 seconds. And this was a difficult weekend for everybody because this was a race, like Zandvoort later on, where changing conditions and sudden downpours put everybody at risk. It was also the other team's best chance to take a win away from Red Bull this season. If there's ever a race that Red Bull was going to lose this year on pure pace alone, it was going to be Monaco. And that's what would have happened if it weren't for one of the best final sectors we've ever seen during a qualifying lap, where Max put the Red Bull on pole, just barely beating out Fernando Alonso, hitting the wall in the process. After Monaco, we went to Spain, qualified pole and won by 24 seconds. After Spain, we had Canada, qualified pole and won by 9 seconds. Spain was his 4th win in a row, putting him with the likes of Damon Hill, Jochen Rindt, and Ayrton Senna. Then we went to
4th win in a row. That was a big deal. Putting him in those, to be mentioned with those names, is absolutely phenomenal in and of itself. But he was nowhere near done at that point. Nowhere.
His 4th win in a row, putting him with the likes of Damon Hill, Jochen Rindt, and Ayrton Senna. Then we went to Austria, qualified on pole position, and you guessed it, won, including a dramatic last lap pit stop to be able to set the fastest lap because he had built such a big gap to Charles in 2nd. Austria was number 5, equaling the consecutive win tally of Jack Brabham in 1960, Jim Clark in 1965, and Lewis Hamilton, who won 5 races in a row both in 2014 and in 2020. Then we went on to Silverstone, qualified pole and won. After Silverstone, you had Hungary. In Hungary, Lewis Hamilton would take pole with an amazing lap in the Mercedes, but we all know how the race ended up. Max won by 33 seconds.
33 seconds. That's insanity. That's craziness, bro. 33 seconds. Jeez.
And this would be his 7th win in a row, putting him in the ranks of Nico Rosberg, Alberto Ascari, and Michael Schumacher. After this was Belgium. Good old Spa. He would qualify pole for the sprint race and the Grand Prix, and then go on to win the sprint race and the Grand Prix. It's also worth noting that due to a gearbox penalty, he didn't start the race on Sunday from pole position. We would see him start from 6th on the grid, not like it mattered anyways. He would still win by 22 seconds. Then we move into the summer break with an 8-race win streak. Then obviously after the summer break, you had Zandvoort, where he would equal Sebastian Vettel's record of 9 wins in a row with the difficult conditions in a very difficult race. Not just for Max, but for everybody. Making Max and Seb the only 2 drivers in F1 history to win 9 consecutive races. In a single season, that is. And after Spa, it seemed pretty much guaranteed that this was going to happen because he's not going to lose in Zandvoort. It's a race that only exists because of Max Verstappen. Changed the name of the trains to and from the circuit to the Max Express. They changed the speed limit signs to 33, not to mention that the
That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, yeah, Max. Max is, I mean, who can stop him? Who can get in his way? Who can beat him? Who can touch him? Who can challenge him? Is there anyone? Is there anyone out there at the moment?
From the circuit to the Max Express. They changed the speed limit signs to 33, not to mention that the Red Bull, the 3 years that we've gone to Zandvoort now, has been pretty well suited for it. But like I said, Zandvoort was anything but a sure thing with the crazy conditions and bouts of rain that we had throughout the entire weekend, which in my opinion makes it the most impressive performance of this run. And then obviously, Monza. 10 in a row. Don't need much to say about it. In 2013, Vettel's 9 consecutive wins brought him his 4th world title. After the mid-season rule change to bring back the 2012 Pirelli compound tires that just so happened to better suit the Red Bull, Vettel would win from Belgium all the way up to the finish in Brazil, squashing Fernando Alonso's hopes of finally winning that coveted Ferrari title, something he's still sad about to this day. Fast forward 10 years later to 2023, and Max probably has half an eye on his 4th title next year in 2024.
Which
is crazy to think about because it was only a few years ago when Lewis and Mercedes were the ones doing all the winning. Where do we go from here? What can stop Red Bull and Max? Because rain usually always leads to unpredictable races, but every race since Baku has had rain play some sort of a role in the weekend, and that hasn't derailed Max or Red Bull. And it also helps that Red Bull's strategy.
Max loved the rain. He said, I love the rain. I can race in any condition, which is just insanity to me how these racers even race in some of that downpour that they race in. Like, I don't know how they see, bro. Like, it's crazy to me, but that's just who they are. They're just that great.
Strategy is legitimately better than every other team's on the grid. We just aren't seeing the team make mistakes either. Strategy is on point, pit stops are on point, Max getting the most out of what is already the most capable car in the grid. But is it as dominant as Max is making it look? Because Sergio, who's no slouch, is anything but a given for the podium on any given weekend. Even when he's given the ideal strategy like he was last weekend with the first lap pit stop for intermediates that gave him the lead very early on, only to lose by what, 700 seconds in only a handful of laps? I think Max was already at Monza by the time Sergio crossed the line. While Verstappen's numbers right now are clearly insane, if he continues on this form, we might see him be the first driver in history to win more than 80% of the races over a season.
Insane.
We might see the McLaren MP4 from 1988 finally be dethroned as the most dominant Formula 1 car of all time. Can Red Bull sweep the season? No, it's impossible. Has to be impossible. Moving on. When I started watching F1 was during...
Might not be impossible. Might not. I don't think it's impossible, actually. I'm not going to say might not. I think it's very possible. I think it's probable at this point. I think it's more probable than impossible. They're honestly just that good, and Max is honestly that far away from everybody else.
During the Lewis Hamilton era when he was dominating. No matter what happened during the race or during qualifying, you just knew that Lewis was going to end up finishing on the podium, and for good reason. Just like Max in the Red Bull now, or Sebastian in Red Bull back in 2013, Lewis and Mercedes were man and machine in perfect harmony. But like when Lewis was dominating, you have to be able to take a step back and admire what you're seeing, no matter how sick of the Dutch national anthem I am. And what we're seeing right now is unprecedented dominance.
They said no matter how sick of the Dutch national anthem I am. That's how we got. You guys got a favorite video suggestion? You can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. It's your boy D Neal. Out.